disciples described an evolving universe of heretofore unimagined elegance and sophistication. The notion that the universe was static and unchanging had died 19 years earlier when Edwin Hubble discovered that the cosmos was indeed expanding, as was predicted by Einstein's theories. "Mein Gott!" Wolf cried out as an image of the delicate multidimensional structures that define both matter and energy clearly formed in his mind. Wolf flipped to a blank page in his notebook and quickly began to sketch the mental picture before it faded. His skilled hand produced the image of a coiled loop that twisted and wound into itself like a knotted ball, an image that attempted to represent a subatomic-sized chunk of the universe possessing 7 additional dimensions beyond the readily apparent 3 dimensions of space and 1 of time. Smiling with childlike wonder, Wolf stared at the drawing and realized that, at 29 years of age, he now stood ready to overthrow everything in the realm of theoretical physics that had preceded him. "I've got to let Raphael know about this," he said excitedly as he rummaged through his briefcase. Wolf extracted the pages of a letter he'd started earlier that day while riding the train back from Chicago. The words and formulas flowed rapidly from his pen as he briefly laid out the framework of a theory that would describe the structure of everything from the tiniest bits of matter to the entirety of the universe. The letter quickly grew from a few pages of personal news to a thick sheaf filled with concise fragments of his blossoming theory. The 6 notebooks on his desk were the seeds of a larger work he knew lay ahead of him, one whose publication would shake the world. Shortly before midnight, Wolf shut off the light in his office. Bundled against the evening chill, he exited through the building's side door and began walking toward the center of campus. "Excuse me," a voice called out. "Yeah?" Wolf answered cautiously, still unable to see whom the voice belonged to. "I'm down here." A hand waved furiously at him from the excavation behind West Engineering. Wolf stepped over the barricade and peered into the void left by the demolition of the boiler house. He saw a dark-haired young man in a soiled gray coat standing in the pit below. "Be careful near the edge. It might give out on you. That's how I ended up down here. Think you could give me a hand getting out?" "Sure," Wolf replied. Judging by the smears of dirt on the man, it looked as though he had already made a few unsuccessful attempts to climb out on his own. Wolf set his briefcase on the ground and knelt in the snow close to the edge of the pit. The young man moved toward him, and Wolf reached down to grasp his hand. "I'll start climbing on 3. Ready?" Wolf nodded. 1, 2... Before the count of 3 came, the young man yanked hard and pulled Wolf headfirst into the pit. Wolf felt his shoulder burn, his arm rotating behind him as he fell. Deftly, the man bent Wolf's forearm upward, pressing the physicist's hand between his shoulder blades as he drove his face into the ground. Wolf's forehead plowed through 2 inches of freezing mud before slamming into the hardened earth. A crack of bone resonated inside his head, followed by a sudden rush of warm fluid into his sinus cavity. The bridge of Wolf's nose crumbled as it impacted a large stone. The man crouched over Wolf, pinning him to the ground. The weight of the attacker's body bore down on the point where the man's knee met Wolf's spine. Why are you doing this?" Wolf shouted, with globs of dirty snow and mud spraying from his lips. "Let me go." Wolf struggled to pull free, but the young man had the advantage of strength and leverage. "You are Johann Wolf. From 1939 until 1945, you were a research scientist with the Reichsforschungsrat. Your job was to devise more efficient ways of killing people." The man spoke deliberately, each word carrying the weight of a pronouncement. "Under your supervision, over 2,000 men, women, and children lost their lives as test subjects and slave laborers. The Nokmim, the avengers of your victims, have found you guilty of crimes against humanity and have sentenced you to death." "Lies! I did not help the Nazis. I am a scientist. I killed no one," Wolf countered, vainly trying to face his accuser. The man